Do you ever feel like you're losing your mind where to store your 20 half unfinished projects? Hey there, Daniel Hartman, Community Machinery, Sackville, New Brunswick. We've got our new work in progress cart, a big upgrade from this is actually more of a material cart, which is a great thing for you got some heavy parts on the bandsaw. Right now, this is actually an old top die from the press brake. It was a 12-foot die, and it just had a lot of nicks in it, and decided to chop it up into 2-foot sections and hopefully clean it up on the milling machine. So that was another, who knows how that project goes. It'll get a report at some point. So the material cart was great for work in progress stuff. Little things around the shop that were broken or something that we started to improve but just didn't get the time to finish or got partway through, ran out of money, ran out of time, ran out of material, ran out of ideas, whatever it was. It would just sit on this cart. And this was actually a work in progress spot as well in terms of these small drawers. The wider drawers were really handy, but it wasn't really the ideal spot. And the nice thing about our new version right here is that it can wheel up to the workbench. Things can get loaded on the work in progress cart. It's got more room for banana boxes, which have been a really great size and sturdy. And the best thing, on the ends, there's spots for vertical material. This is just a temporary bungee cord just to try and get in my mind's eye what is going to work so we can finish this last little part. So the thing, this was a later detail here, this little trough, and this is just some 1/8 inch by 4 slit and edged, what some people call flat bar. We call it slit and edged because it's slit out of a coil. And a little piece of 1/8 by 2 on the front, so it's just formed around, and then it's got a piece of 5 inch by 1/8 in the bottom that these 4-inch phenolic casters fit on. So we got swivels on the front, rigid casters on the back, and it's a pretty good design overall. These are 2-foot by 4-foot. They're metalware shelves. They're just surplus that were laying around, so we made it fit that. And then we just drilled all these 1/4-inch holes. We actually have a little drilling template that actually just happens to be right here. So we drilled these holes in the milling machine accurately, and then we made up a little 1/4-inch pin with a big handle so that we were able to re-index the angle iron over and over and over again in the radial arm drill because it had more clearance around the radial arm drill. It was just easier to set up on that machine. The same thing here could easily be done with the milling machine. So we just had it set in here like this, and yeah, you just pin this in your last hole, and then you have another 2 positions. I forget. Anyhow, it was a great idea. It worked really well. And yeah, so now this is a big bonus in terms of depending on who's working in the shop, people can come and continue on a job they've already started, or put a job with all its component parts and keep it together if they're not going to work on anymore, and then we got to wait and find someone else to pick things up. And yeah, it's a big help. So it's 8 feet high. The first time it was together, it didn't actually fit under that beam. It was thrown together kind of quick. And we actually had the caster plates under those shelves, which now that we have these troughs at either end for the long parts, it's a lot better overall. And that was one of the ongoing plans to do that. So really to make it rigid, more of this 1/8 inch by 4 slit and edged that keeps the cart from racking back and forth. And the ends actually don't have anything other than that trough there. They are just bolted together with the shelves, and it's nice and rigid. Actually, it's rigid enough that even though these were actually a little bit out of square, so the car was rocking, which was a good sign that it was really rigid. Even though once there was lots of weight, it would still rock a little bit. So somewhere along the line, something was missed when these corners here were formed, and every once in a while something happens. It was probably partly due to forming it on the ironworker and this top die. If you ever use one of these piranhas, this isn't rigid, it moves around. We usually go with a soapstone line right where the top die is, but the top die is not always lined up with the bottom die, and I don't know. Press brake is definitely the better way to go, especially if it's got a squaring edge on the press brake. But sometimes this thing's really handy because it's right here, and it's just what we've been used to over the years. So, other thing that we're really looking to do, we've got these drawers, and we've been using all these little boxes that come from whatever bolt supplier we use, fastener supply, and it's really tough to find certain size boxes, and our fastener supplier is secretive about where they get their boxes from, and they're not really eager to sell us boxes, which is curious, because if you have someone who wants a service, why not throw a go-away price at it and see what happens? It might be your next big business idea, who knows? Anyhow, so this has been a lot better than drawer dividers that have been running front and back, because they ended up with lots of little narrow compartments, and it was really hard to reach, and it was really hard to say, hey, I just want a bunch of nuts or bolts for this one job, and be able to take out the corresponding item. And we still got a really great visual control with being able to see down into the drawers. So that's one of those things, finding the right size box to do that. Looked around on Amazon or wherever else on the internet, and there's different kind of gift type boxes, but none of them seem to be the right one. So that's a curious thing to solve that, because we're not going to put a little plastic bin or anything. Cardboard boxes, they can hold up for 20 years, easy. Actually, I've probably got some cardboard, we've definitely got boxes that are older than 20 years, and I think that's a pretty good lifespan as far as things to organize some nuts and bolts and have a really low cost, fairly low impact as far as, I feel like, if someone was really critical environmentally, paper seems like it's in some ways not as intense to manufacture as plastic. But anyhow, that's a whole other tangent. We won't get into that. Otherwise, in the shop, it's a lot of stuff sitting in close proximity to one another, moving stuff around. Got this 30-ton press, which still looking for a 10,000 psi pump to get that up and running. And yeah, lots of machinery sitting around. One other thing we're working on is updating our TIG welding area. So we used to have, well, actually it's over here on the floor. There's this frame here, and we never had a proper tabletop, and we never really thought about what to integrate into the bottom for a cabinet. So that's one of those things that's we found a cabinet the other day. Excuse the noise. And we've got it right here. So this showed up. Someone was throwing it out. It showed up here. And it's pretty close to the length. Any TIG welding rod is about 3 feet long. So the drawers aren't quite wide enough. Ideally, we get another 4-foot wide Russo cabinet, put all the TIG welding rods, and then, the extra width in the drawer. There's not going to be a whole lot, but that could be a good spot for some short rods or other odds and ends, some side cutters, things for bending the end of the rod. One tip that I was given years ago is to curl the end of the rod around so you don't poke yourself or anyone else in the eye. One of my favorite tips of all time. And the other thing you could really use in that drawer would be some safety wire pliers, because if you ever use MIG welding wire, it has a big curve in it. Usually when you take it out of a spool, and if you have safety wire pliers, if you turn the wire with the safety wire pliers, theoretically it straightens out the wire. I haven't done it a whole lot. I've only seen it done once. So that would be the kind of things you put in your drawer with your TIG filler rod. And yeah, so basically we're just gonna put something on top of this. Actually, we got this piece of cold rolled out of an old piece of machinery. So that's nice. It's got a couple holes in there. This angle plate we made, we used that the other day to put some parts in the bandsaw, and that was kind of handy because I thought of it more of as a welding fixture than ever something that would be ending up in the bandsaw. So that's pretty handy. And yeah, those are the main updates. This TIG rod, we're going to try and find some way to make a drawer, probably out of some masonite, because we have some masonite around, and we've used that for some other drawers in the shop. So what we are upgrading from is this old, it's called the plan hold. So basically this is about 3 feet deep for AutoCAD drawings, blueprints, whatever you want to call them. And one of the improvements we made years ago is making a list that corresponded to all the different cubby holes for different welding alloys. So it actually wasn't a great system where if all the cubby holes were labeled right on the particular cubby hole, it would be easier than looking at one of these things on the chart and going from the top corner over to this top corner. It wasn't as easy a visual control, and it led to a lot of waste. It wasted, you know, the potential of people when you have to think about a task that doesn't need to require thinking, in terms of if it was just labeled right on there instead of having to go and look here and then look over here and then look here and look over here. That's like as much of a waste as transportation, wasting the brilliance of people who are working at a place. Anyhow, lots of wastes there for anyone who's really into lean. Still working on my lean explanations. Anyhow, this is a pretty random video at the end of the day. It's probably long-winded and a little quirky, but I guess that could be my shtick. Who knows? Anyhow, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and it'll be motivation for more videos just like it. Thanks. Until next time, please comment below on things you're feeling challenged with around your shop, and we'll try and make a video on it if and when. And no, we'll really try. Thanks again.